The recording has started.
It's really hard not swearing on here.
I love this.
Let's do this.
Many Bothans lost their lives, it's true, to bring the news across the galactic view. From the outer rim to the core's fierce light, tune in this week and hold on tight.
Welcome to episode 7 of Across the Network with special guests Mike Jem and Stevie Getz from KTOD. Suspensions are out and it's time to dig into what comes next. Stevie casually wins the Lucas Showcase, top 8ing Denver, and another player gets caught on camera, this time with a DQ. Be sure to like and subscribe to let us know you love what we're doing and enjoy the show. All right, everyone, welcome to Across the Network episode 7. I am Jonathan Fisher. I'm here with Lego Pizza.
What up? And we got two special guests. The first time we have two guests on the pod. We have Bobby Sapphire and Stevie Getz from KTOD. What is up, guys?
What up?
What it do, baby?
Welcome.
This is the first time two guests. Let's go.
Yeah.
I'm hyped.
Yeah, first time with two.
I'm glad you guys are
Celebrities.
unleashing Steve.
Let's go.
I mean, after that
I know,
performance.
Mike's kept me on such a short leash this entire time. It feels awkward to be out in public.
Seriously, I wouldn't let him join any other Discords or teach him how. So when he had to join the BN Discord tonight, it's possible that the entire community is about to burn down.
Oh, wow.
I clicked this button and it felt wrong.
I love it.
That's hilarious. Yeah. So why don't you guys introduce yourself real quick? Maybe some listeners don't know who you are. It's possible. Stevie?
Yeah, for sure. I'm Steve Baroni, Stevie Getz. I'm one of the original members of the KTOD way back in, 2003, 2000? I don't know.
Yeah,
whatever
03.
year it was. 03, yeah. Been boys with Mike and Justin since 2000, and we kind of just segued into SWU this past year when Mike showed up for our annual steak dinner night with some proxied up decks, and kind of one thing led to another, and the rest is history.
It's cool that you guys kept in touch with a steak dinner every year. That's sweet.
Well, we are friends. We talk all year. We talk every day anyway, but we always do Capitol Grill every winter around New Year's to, I don't know, just ring in the new year, recap the year that was. And it's just been a tradition that we kept up. And I felt that was the perfect time to be like, hey, guys, look at this card game that's coming out.
Yeah, I mean, you guys...
The best time to peer pressure your boys.
Mm-hmm.
You guys were into Destiny before, right? That's the background of KTOD?
Yeah. No, so KTOD started way back in the early 2000s with the original Star Wars CCG game.
Okay.
Those guys, Steve and Justin, stuck with that game over the course of it, being canceled and run by a players committee. I got into Destiny because I was at a Star Wars CCG tournament with these guys, and I saw some of those players playing Destiny. I was like, what's this new Star Wars game? And I got into that, and I loved it so much that I was clamoring for more content. But there was none, so I was like, well, if I'm I'll just make the content that I want. And that's how I got into making videos and podcasts and stuff for Star Wars cards again, which is something I'd done way back for Star Wars CCG.
That's awesome.
Okay.
I remember when Destiny came out because I played it the first two sets, and you're right. It was a barren landscape of content when that game came out. There was two people making videos.
Yeah, it was rough.
So.
And I wanted to read stuff. So the Hyperloops, which is the site I ran, we had written articles 5 days a week. And that was crazy.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, that brings me back to Star City Games, articles
Exactly.
for Magic the Gathering and stuff that I used to read every single time there was a new one.
Right. So I
that's
know, I'm
really
sure
awesome.
you know Channel Fireball, which is another Magic content site, which is named after the first broken combo in Magic. And we called ourselves the Hyperloops because Hyperloop was the first broken combo that they had to errata in Star Wars Destiny. So we were trying to invoke Channel Fireball with that name.
Okay.
That's awesome. I did not know that bit of lore about the Hyperloop.
History lesson. There you go.
Yeah.
Student of the sport.
Yeah, I love
He'd
love
be
Channel
teaching
Fireball.
even on his off days.
So what do you do now with KTOD?
Okay, so KTOD is a YouTube channel and podcast. We do a bi-weekly podcast, and we release a couple of videos a week. And then what we have is a private Discord community that's run through our Patreon. So it's a subscription-only, paid-only Discord. And what we've found, and I experienced this through the Hyperloops with Destiny, is that what breeds high level, not only just competition, but community is that paywall that keeps a lot of people who are just there to disrupt, just there to troll out. But it's not so expensive that you're like prohibited from joining, right? So it's just sort of like one barrier for entry, and it's just been very successful in keeping people who are there only to get better and are fine helping other people get better. And it's a lot of lurkers, like Daniel Hall, the guy that won the Denver event. Like when we played in round 11, he's like, I'm actually in your Discord. I've never posted a single thing, but I've been lurking for a year. And I love that because like it's really just whatever anyone wants. You get to follow deck threads and learn about what people are doing with decks, and you get to like you can use our decks that like are play tested and use those as baselines to do your own play testing and make decks. So it's really just a community of people who are trying to get better at the game, but also willing to share with each other how to get better at the game.
Yeah. When we started Bothan Network and we decided to create our own Discord, we were members of KTOD, right? Like all of us, very aware of like what you guys were doing and consciously not trying to fill that space, right? Like we could have made deck lists on our forums or like forums, whatever, on our Discord. And we said, no. KTOD is doing that. They do an excellent job at it. Anybody wants that, that's where they should go. So, I think it's really smart that you have that paywall, that little bit to just make sure people actually want to be there. It's a good move.
Yeah, and I think it was smart for,
right?
Yeah, it is a little bit of that. And I think it's smart for what you guys did. And Steve will remember this because when we studied this podcast called Startup about how to start a business and be successful in that business, it's like you need to find the spaces that other people don't have and create them, right? And like that's sort of what KTOD was. And then that's also what, the Bothan Network became.
Right. I was just going to ask Stevie, like, how do you get involved with what happens over at KTOD?
Me? Oh, yeah. I'm just there. I mean, for the most part, I do like the business side of things. In terms of actually like play testing or doing a lot of that stuff, like for the most part, I've just been along for the ride. Like for me, I honestly don't really enjoy playing this game so much. But it's a good way to keep in touch with my two best friends. And like Mike said, like we have a group thread, me, him, and Justin for like years now where we talk every day. But like prior to SWU and KTOD for like this iteration, like we probably saw each other maybe 2-3 times a year. And now we're seeing each other 2-3 times a month sometimes.
Traveling together all the time.
Yeah, it's like being a kid again, like this is how we all came up. So for me, like for the most part, it was always just a way to keep in touch with my best friends, and it kind of just got all very much blown out of proportion.
Yeah.
Really
we met, me and Steve and me and Justin, like we all met each other at Star Wars Cards tournaments back in the early 2000s. And like, I think probably even like 1999, I think is when I met Steve.
Yeah.
That's awesome. You guys must have been shocked at how much KTOD has exploded with Star Wars Unlimited.
Yeah, on a daily
like
basis.
Just over a year now, right?
Yeah, we just hit our 1 year, and it's completely bonkers. Like it's more than tripled up what Hyperloops did, and I thought like getting to half of what Hyperloops did would be like a great modest goal for a new game, especially with 3 guys, my brother, Maddie, Steve, and Justin, who like really haven't done content before. And even getting them on board with that was tough. So I was like, all right, well, if we were even just half of what the Hyperloops is, we got a bunch of the Hyperloops guys to start the community, and then it just snowballed from there.
I was gonna say, this is like my absolute worst nightmare. Like when we were walking away from the con on Sunday after the top 8, Mike was like, well, you're gonna have to start doing some interviews now. I was like, no freaking way. I was like, not happening.
Hey.
And then sure enough, here I am.
Sure enough.
We're just hanging out. Hanging out.
I'm the guy behind the guy. I don't like being the face of anything.
Well, I mean, we're going to do
awesome.
an episode in the future around like how to balance having other things in your life, like family and stuff like that, and still be competitive. Like that's on our schedule. And your story about like, hey, I don't actually play this game that much. And then you go to the sectors and you do what every single person that showed up wanted to do. That kind of story, I think, is interesting to a lot of people.
Yeah, and I think that's like the moral of the story for like the whole weekend. Is like, I top eighted and I'm not a grinder. Like I play the least amount of games on our team. Like I play like my Monday night stream.
Yeah.
That's just about it for the week. And like even that's more me just like entertaining the crowd type of thing. Talking smack against whenever I get never mind. We won't go there. But yeah, but like that's it though, right? Like everybody they see like the grinders, like think about how many games Woo plays a week, Mike plays a week, you know? And then those are the people everyone expects to top 8 all the tournaments, but like your average Joe can absolutely do it.
Yeah.
True.
Well, and it also helps that you have like 20 years of card gaming experience just to like your fundamentals are probably there, right? Regardless of having to practice every day. It's more so just like the maybe niche lines against certain matchups that maybe you don't have memorized or whatever.
Absolutely. And I think that's like the difference in why I lost in the top 8 and I didn't probably make a deeper run or possibly win the tournament is because you don't know those lines. But I just and even like when we played Star Wars CCG, like this came up when Mike and I were doing our recording last night. Like I've never known the rules inside about, like I've always been the first person to call a judge, but I've also always just had a knack at finding a way to win. And like some of that stuff is just ingrained. And like the greats are the one that do both.
TFT.
Yeah.
So we also played Team Fight Tactics together a lot over the last few years, and that was another thing that like I would tell Steve about the way something worked. He's like, "That's not how it works." I'm like, "Steve, that's absolutely how it works. Please use this." And he's just like YOLOing and freewheeling and doing great. And like some people have that ability to do that, and I don't. Right? I have to grind. I have to know the stuff. I have to experience it and feel it. I'm not as intuitive as Steve by any stretch of the imagination.
Dude, Stevie's just a gamer, dude.
Yep.
I love it.
Dude, I didn't even learn that indirect damage gets through shields until Tada and I played a warm-up match before day 2.
I watched your episode this morning. I'm gonna throw a card on the screen. I've never done that, but I'm gonna put a card to the interview with Stevie and Mike.
All right, sounds good.
That's funny.
Yeah.
All right, hold on. I have a quick question on KTOD in general. And I know you said that like it's kind of blown so much up compared to what you thought it was. And I was wondering, and I think a lot of people probably wonder, like, do you think that's because Star Wars Unlimited is a bigger game than Destiny, or do you think that your content for what you do now is just better? Like you've learned from your past experiences and you've just continued to like upscale and make it better and people keep coming back for that? Or do you think that like there's just so many more people playing this game and want to get into the competitive scene?
I think it's a much bigger game and better game. I think that is definitely a huge part of it. I do think that I learned a lot from Destiny, and I used what I learned over those 3 or 4 years to set this up in a way that was really successful. I learned a lot about how Discord works, how Patreon works, how businesses work. So I do think that there's that, and like I do YouTube videos now, which is more accessible. That's what people prefer to be, sort of ingesting at this point. But it's really I think why KTOD is striving and not just SWU is striving is because of the community building that we've sort of learned. And I think the feedback that we get the most is this is their first TCG, or this is like KTOD isn't what they expected, because any other Patreon they've been in, like, people say that they're going to share, but they don't. They still just like keep everything secret. And like, we just don't do that. My deck is posted all the time, and people always ask, "Are you playing your list from the Discord?" It's like, yes, I am. And if you are facing me, you can pull it up on your phone beforehand and look at it before we play, because I let everyone know that this is what I'm playing this weekend. And I think that ethos of like, I'm not here to trick you. I'm not here to take anything away from you. If you want what I have, you can have it. But like, really what you're going to do best at is like taking what I or what other experienced players tell you and making it your own. So like, yeah, you can have my list. I don't know if you should play it card for card. Like, I think I'm the only one who played Bib Fortuna in Denver. I'd do it again, but I don't think anyone else would. And that's fine. But like, you're at least getting my honest feelings about cards and decks and the meta. So I think that has really helped too. And also getting everyone in there on board with that ethos has been absolutely massive. And, to risk being a meme, but like the vibes are immaculate when it comes to that, like sharing part. I love that.
I mean, your deck threads are popping all the time, dude. Like the
crazy.
Green Sabine chat today, I think there was like 100+ messages when I just scrolled over. They're so happy about today.
And why did that chat explode today?
Yeah, I mean,
The
we
witch
got
is dead.
some big boy suspensions. We got 3 different cards suspended. We have Jango Leader, we have Triple Dark Raid, and we got DJ. I don't know if anybody was expecting all 3 of them, but boy, does it feel like Christmas.
Yeah, when I knew these suspensions were coming, the first person I thought of was Mike. Because, Mike, you have been jamming Django. I got to play you in Atlanta. You stomped me.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I wasn't respecting Django at that time. We sat down and I was like, honestly, I haven't tested this matchup that much. And you smacked me down, right? Like, I should have.
You didn't hit your ramp.
I did not hit my ramp. That is correct. But the deck wasn't as powerful back then. But I knew that you have been on this deck throughout set 3 and into set 4, and I really wanted to know specifically your thoughts on these bannings, these suspensions, and like how necessary it was. Like, I have some data on it, and I'll throw some of that data up on the screen about Denver. But what were you thinking? What stage in step 4's development and testing were you like, this might get banned? When did that like first cross your mind, for example?
I think really the first time I played with War Juggernaut, I was just like, oh yeah, this is a huge problem. I actually tried to get word to them that I thought War Juggernaut should be the thing that is banned preemptively. I thought that would be the safest, right? Like, it's a common, you messed up, you didn't think a common would matter because it's sort of a draft card. Just ban it. No one's going to care. There's not like a prestige serialized War Juggernaut floating around.
Yeah, it's not even a unique ship, right? Like, it's not
exactly.
in the prestige cards.
So it would have been really safe and easy to do that. It probably would have still led to the Django banning though. So I thought Django was just so powerful in set 3 because I could play the control game whenever I wanted for just one resource. If I had something like ISP Agent, right? Like, I could tap something down that was otherwise going to be problematic and go about my day and not really stress about it. But when set 4 happened and you had 3 different ways, so like 9 cards in your deck, and when you have something like Triple Dark Raid to pull it earlier, to pull IG 2000, to pull War Juggernaut, to pull Devastator, and tap down, exhaust an entire board, like lit both arenas, both like every single unit. That is so criminally unfair that I honestly can't believe it got through playtesting. Like, they said on the video today that they thought Boba was keeping it in check. I'll take I'd love to play a Boba right now with Django at full power. Like, what are they going to do? Like, you better, like, yeah, you're going to get your Boba's armor after I exhaust it, and then maybe then you can start using Boba, but like, you'll be dead. My Devastator will just hit you for 13, bro.
I mean, I played a Boba Yellow at Denver who was playing, Boba 4 Yellow, and he was playing Boba's armor, and on 6, he played his Boba and put his armor on it, and then I just TDR'd a Devastator and tapped it anyways.
Yeah.
Let's like have fun, brother.
Yeah, it's crazy. I tried.
He gets around the shield.
That's right. I tried testing the Boba's armor in Boba. It's not as good as I wish it was, but yeah, I mean, I just thought it immediately. I really thought that Django without the mass exhaust was like just a good, like, fair mid-range deck that I could sort of play in both lanes, which is how I want to play. Like, play reactive, be aggressive when I needed to. But yeah, when everyone's just like slamming War Juggernauts, like, and you got 6 War Juggernauts on the table in a mirror match, it's just absolutely absurd.
So Stevie, what do you think about like the speed that FFG has addressed this? You say you're thinking about the business side at KTOD. Maybe in terms of just like running a game, how do you think people are going to feel about the suspensions they've made and how quickly they've done it?
I think no matter what they decided to do, people are going to be unhappy one way or the other. Like, that's just the nature of things. I do think that the speed of their suspensions was spot on. Like, people talked about Jango being a problem. We saw Jango dominate Milan. We had also that weekend because of the Bothan Invitational where it wasn't so prevalent. So it seemed like maybe the Milan could have been an outlier. But then with the immediate results from this past weekend's sector, it was evident, right? And like, they didn't even they didn't even wait a week. Like they even told us Tuesday night that there was going to be a suspension on Wednesday. Like they saw that there was a problem and they took immediate action, which I think is great. I mean, generally speaking, when cards get banned, the people that complain the most are the people who have money invested in those cards, and the fact that there's no value to Star Wars Unlimited cards anyways kind of negates that somewhat. So I mean, I think they made the right decision. I mean, we can nitpick over which cards they should have banned, but like in general, like they neutered Jango and they neutered the Tech DJ combo. Like that was the problem.
Yeah.
Problem solved.
I'll put some data on the screen, but in Denver, Jango went from 19% of the field to 44% of the field in day 2, from day 1 to day 2. And Han was the other big offender from day 1 to day 2. And almost everyone else was negative. I mean, there were a couple others that had positive. It's like a percent shift in their what percentage of decks were running in that day. But almost everyone else was negative. Like Jango just ate up so much of that percentage.
Yeah, I think it's interesting too that from Milan to Denver, the percentage of Jango decreased day 1, I believe, but the conversion rate was still astronomically high.
Yeah, I think that shows that like most of the like players who were going there probably grinding, playing a lot of games beforehand, were on the Jango deck and probably did well, and even without needing to, have a bajillion people playing it, a lot of the top players were on it, so the conversion rate was still really high because just relatively good players who might have made day 2, regardless of what deck they played, just because they're that good, made it, right? So,
right.
To be fair, there's a lot of great players that didn't make day 2. I mean, I didn't make day 2 myself. None of the Bothans made day 2. We all went like 6-3 or worse. So, I mean, Denver was such a tough field. Like, props to both of you for making day 2 because that alone is.
Thanks, man. But a perfect example too is like my round 9 opponent for the winning in for top 8. We were chit chatting and he said this was the first time he ever played Jango this weekend. Like he just picked up the deck, and like I'm sure he's a phenomenal player.
Yeah.
But like to just pick up a deck and top 8, like just shows you the power of that.
I was doing a bunch of data.
Exactly.
I did coverage of Denver, and I was doing a bunch of data work, like between rounds and stuff. And one of the biggest indicators you're looking for is if people that don't normally win a lot are winning a lot with a deck, or people that aren't as familiar with it, or people that don't practice as much. So if you're seeing like a broad, sweeping, high win percentage for that leader for almost everyone, that's like one of the big things you're looking for. And we don't have multiple tournaments with the same players to really know, but still that like percent representation was a huge shift. Do you guys think Triple Dark Raid needed to be suspended?
No, I am actually kind of disappointed in that suspension. Not because I necessarily am like looking to abuse it, but it was such a fun and I think really well balanced card, to be honest. I see where it's like completely overpowered in Jango, but I think absent of that, a lot of cool decks lose the ability to like, Tarkin loses the ability to like grab a TIE Phantom and build that vertically. Like there's just so many fun ways you can spin that wheel and come out of it. And like we've all whiffed on TDR. We've all had to like put out a Cartel Spacer or a Kylo ship, or our teammate John Tata, he with his opponent at 29 damage on base, so 1 HP remaining and 8 resources, full whiffed to win and get knocked out of day 2 contention. Like it's 7 cards is very few, and even with 25 hits in your deck, like you're still gonna miss sometimes. So like I found it balanced, and I think it more is like taking a pretty powerful and interesting card out of the meta and like not really leaving us with very many cards. Like we're going to enter a meta that is like very grindy, because everything is just kind of neutered at the moment.
Do you think that TDR represented a strategy that maybe FFG doesn't necessarily want to be in like the most competitive decks, just because, like you said, there is a failure rate?
No, I think FFG would want the failure rate to hurt people who are YOLOing, right? Like I think that's
Okay.
better for someone like playing such a high roll strategy. I think you want some drawback. You know, that's why like TIE Phantom's a 2/2. That's why Chewbacca Pilot doesn't stop every iteration of like disrupting it. You know, there needs to be some counter to it. I don't know. I mean, I understand that with Devastator and the Invisible Hand, like Triple Dark Raid can do some absolutely stupid broken things. And so like for that I understand, and I'm not like up in arms, like I don't really care. But I do think that like banning all your good cards or your most interesting and well balanced good cards is not a great look. I think it's like kind of cowardly, to be honest.
Yeah, I have a couple theories. One, Stevie didn't play U-Wing, right? So maybe these cards aren't even that good. He didn't need it. He made top 8.
I mean, do you know how many times I've been asked why aren't you playing U-Wing in the past 3 days? Like at least 20 times. It's absurd.
You don't even need these cards.
And like everyone's inevitably underwhelmed with the answer. Like I just didn't think about it. That's all it is, you know? Like, I don't know.
That's the best answer, dude. That's awesome.
People are like, well, why aren't you playing Ewing? What about the percentages? This, that. And it's just like, honestly, like, I never even thought to play the card. Like, if you look at the original deck list, like, prior to, like, so I built this deck, like, a week before the tournament. And then Mike and I talked a little bit during the week, and he tried to get me to play some cards. And, like, literally, like, when I built this deck, it was 3x of 20 cards, and I think every single card was from set 1 or set 2.
And I will say I built my own version to help Steve prep, and my version also doesn't have U-Wing. But I didn't do Data Vault. I was working on 30 point. Which
yeah.
Did you feel like Data Vault was like MVP for you?
I don't know if it was MVP, but because that title belongs to something else, but it felt relevant in a lot of ways, and not so much like there were definitely a few games where I was at 30, 31, 32 life, and like that's like the obvious answer, right? Like if I was playing Echo Base, I would have lost. But more so, I think where it came in to play is it changed the lines during the game. Like it allowed me to race my opponents more often than not because I knew I had that comfortable. So like even instead of attacking my opponent's units, I went to face instead because I knew I had that cushion. Like granted, the time it really mattered for me to attack the base and not the units. I didn't do it and I didn't see the line. But in general, I think Data Vault impacted the lines of the game and more so than necessarily being at 30, 31.
Yeah, it's kind of an unquantifiable way, but like it does let you play more free. And you know, there's I think it was like maybe Vampire Whitehawk, Steve, where it was like you just once you hit that, you never attacked a unit again. You always went face because they could never outrace it. And that's like sort of what I think about with your deck because there's so many Restore 2 guys. So it's like as soon as something like Yoda hits the table, especially Luke, home 1, you just like, all right, I'm going face because now you can never outpace me.
It was close. It's Nighthawk.
I think the real thing is, Nighthawk. I think one of the things with having extra HP, and I noticed this when I've played against like George on his CAD Colossus deck and other decks that have more than 30 HP, it's less so about the games where you won a game at 31 or 32, and it's more about the games where you avoided a checkmate scenario by having the 3 extra HP, right? Like they have a unit on board that they could claim and one action kill you, but now they can't because you have that little bit of threshold.
Yeah.
Which I think that probably comes up more, right?
People look at damage on base at the end of the game, and they're like, "Oh, you didn't even hit 30. You didn't need it." That's not all it's about.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there were so many games where my lines in the early game were, again, especially against Jango, where I would actually like pass or I'd journal actions until they attacked and they tapped out, and I'd take all the damage to the face, and then I'd play the Conquered Dawn or I'd play the Bright Hope like after they've already attacked my base. So instead of like knowing that I could take the damage to the face and I had that cushion, because then it gave me the opportunity to put the shields on it. Whereas I think if I was on a 30-point base or even a 25-point base, if somebody wanted to get cute and play ECL, like you actually have to manage your life total earlier in the game, and you may not have that opportunity to stack the shields as much.
Yeah. So I knew the Ewing comment would put us on a fun little tangent, weaving in Stevie's stories. No, it was great. So my other theory on Triple Dark Raid ban is that they were like in a conference all weekend, just jamming games and trying to figure out what they should do. And my theory is they started with, well, let's just get rid of Triple Dark Raid. Maybe that'll solve it. And they were testing, and Jango was still good. Jango was still too good. And they were like, we don't have any more time. Let's just ban Jango too. Like, if they had just maybe considered just banning Jango, did they really put enough time into making sure they needed to get rid of Triple Dark Raid? Because I kind of agree that it's a lot of people really love the card. It's fun to play, and it opens up a lot of creative design space.
Mm-hmm.
You'd rather ban more and not need to have banned it than not ban enough and like needed to have banned it and then look incompetent. I don't know.
Yeah, I would have bet money that they were hitting Jango. But I'd heard people say that they just need to hit Triple Dark Raid, and yeah, I don't know. I already said my piece. I'm not going to get back into it. Sorry, I'm bailing out of that take.
Well, what do we think about DJ then? Like, I think it's just it's a feels bad is the biggest thing for me. Like, I know it suppresses 6-cost leaders, but my hot take this week is 6-cost leaders are still generally bad, even without.
Well, we're
DJ.
going to find out. Right? Like, I think the best thing for us to do is find out. I think my biggest issue with DJ, and I really, really thought they were going to hit DJ before Step 4 dropped. I was shocked that they didn't. Is just because it is so clearly mistemplated based on what they have done with other take your resource or like destroy a resource. You own but don't. You control but don't own. No, you own but don't. What is it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can't like take someone else's resource with Lando and blow up their resource, right? You can only blow up your resources.
You have to own it.
Yeah, you have to own it. So like it was just such a mistake, and like they should have just copped to the mistake. It's just so much better when you cop to the mistake, as we'll get into at the end of this show.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Nice little call ahead. So yeah.
So
yeah,
for me,
as
a lifelong Han enjoyer, I
lifelong.
think that lifelong since I was a wee babe. So I think that it was correct to just ban DJ. They should have done it earlier. I think I would have been okay with them banning Han instead. I was pretty much I wasn't in one camp or the other. Even though I own the showcase, whatever value, but whatever, I don't care. To me, it was like you have to do something. Ban one or the other. I don't really care. I think it made sense. I think the conservative route would have been to just ban Han, because there's some problems that I have with Han's design for future sets and future design space that I think they're just like hoping that they can manage, I guess, which is how good can you actually print a 3-cost unit in Han's colors? How good can you print a 7-cost unit in Han's colors? Because those are the two inflection points where it really feels unfair when Han's doing the Han thing. And I think it would probably be easier for them moving forward to have just been like, let's just get rid of Han now and not worry about it.
Completely agree.
With that being said, I think that they didn't want to take the L and say we're banning 2 more leaders in one go here. And that's why they probably banned DJ instead. Like, I know that in their set 3 recap, they said that if they were going to ban something that they were looking at DJ. So they were kind of like telling us that if this inevitably happened, which of course it did, that it was going to be DJ. But I think part of it was that they just don't want to keep having to ban leaders altogether. And that they want people to try to find new ways to use leaders without the powerful tools that it was using. And I think with this case, like, I think Han is just in a good deck still. Like, Han yellow, Han green, Han red even. Maybe the crazy people who play Han blue. I don't know.
Shout out Paul here.
But I mean, I think there's plenty of workspace for that deck to like do its thing. Like, it's gonna have the good yellow cards. It's gonna tempo people out. Like Poe on 3 is insane. So yeah, I don't know. I think that deck is still good. It obviously loses its biggest win percentage versus control card, which is DJ, but it still has all the discard. It still has tech, which it's still the best tech deck because you have the extra resources. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think it's definitely a good thing, but whether or not it solves the problem of like Han being a little bit punishing towards aggro decks, I don't know. It definitely makes Han less good against control decks as well, though. So balances that out.
Steve, did you want to add something?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, along the lines of what you're talking about, we had, I don't remember, this was probably set one of the podcasts we did. We were talking about leaders we thought were underrated, or where I think it was like before set 2 dropped, like what leaders we think are gonna do better. And like one of the comments I had made or points I brought up was like, I think Han at some point is going to be one of the best leaders because he does something that circumvents like the mechanics of the game, the normal rules of the game. Yeah. And while we may not have enough cards currently to really take advantage of that, this type of leader is going to hinder their design for all future sets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think like where you said, Ian, like just banning Han, you don't have to worry about that, would have probably been a better call, because now, I mean, I guess how many sets do we have though before rotation? Not too
I think they're hoping they can
two more
rotate
than
them.
rotation. Yeah, I mean,
yeah, that's
it's still a long way, and I think Ian's point about the just like gatekeeping aggro is the biggest thing. Like it just warps the meta that way in a way that no other leader does. Another thing that I think is like they're only looking at, like, notice all of these cards are yellow. The 3 suspended cards today, Boba Fett, Han, like they're just really out of touch on what the yellow should do, what cunning cards should do, and they're just way too overpowered.
I wrote a satire post on what they're going to ban, and like number 6 was all remaining cunning leaders, and number 7 was all remaining cunning cards.
Sounds
beat Admiral Trench, and that's about it.
Number 8 was all double command cards because they're just bad anyway. But cunning is crazy. Even the first ban card, they're all cunning cards. Every one of them.
It's like fundamentally part of the way that they developed the color pie for cunning, right? They're like, we want discarding cunning. We want it to also be tempo based. So they have bounce effects and exhaust effects. And then we also want it, for whatever reason, to have all of the resource cheating that exists. Like Boba Leader, Han Leader, Triple Dark Raid. I'm probably forgetting more, but like...
Yep. Sneak Attack.
Yeah.
Now there's another one.
Yeah, Sneak Attack is another one. I mean, that card's egregious on its own. So, yeah. I don't know. I mean, I hope that they look at this more for future sets and hope that they try to give other colors more love in order to kind of increase their power level.
Well, that's the suspensions. We'll see what happens. It's going to be exciting. Ian, do you have a hot take? Yeah, let's see.
Yeah, okay. So, my hot take is that the meta is going to be so wide open that every single event, every major event from now on for the rest of the set is going to be won by a different leader-based combo.
I can get behind that.
All right, I'll take that bet. We're shaking virtually.
What are the stakes?
Yeah, I don't know. I really feel like it's just a gentleman's agreement.
No, Ian's got to get a Lego pizza shirt and be twins with me in Vegas.
There we go. I'll definitely do that.
And I'll rock the KTOD bucket hat in Vegas.
There we go. I love it. So the reason that I think that this might happen is because so Han and Jango fundamentally attacked the meta in multiple different ways. Like Jango made the aggro deck suffer because of the exhaust effects, and then Han made the control decks suffer, which were like the anti-Jango decks, which kind of was like a self-fulfilling prophecy of why DJ was or Jango was able to like have so much success. Is because a lot of the anti-Jango decks lost to Han. So having them both in the format kind of just helped Jango do better. And removing both of these, or at least Han somewhat. Han's not completely out of the meta, but I think aggro decks get to flourish a bit. I think control decks get to flourish a bit. And then all of like the mid-range soup decks get to kind of just figure out how they want to attack which version of the meta they think is going to be more prevalent. You know, if they want to go after the Sabine decks that are going to rise up, or do you want to be on like the Quinlan discard package and attack the control decks that are going to come back into the meta? And I think it's going to be really hard to like if Richmond was tomorrow, I think it would be really hard to figure out like what leaders would be in the top 8.
No doubt.
So I'm super interested to see what happens. I think this community is great at like figuring out what decks are good and getting to a point where we establish a meta and then kind of reimagining the meta. Like if you remember in set 1, it was like the very beginning, it was Boba Green everywhere. And then all these control decks started rising up to kind of counter the Boba Green. And then all of these like anti-control decks started rising up. Like there was all of the control mirror tech where you would play like blue-yellow villain to play like bounty hunter crew to get back your vigilance so that you could win the vigilance mirrors. And then there was like the palp decks that went over the top of everybody and slammed relentless to try to like beat those decks that were playing all the events. I think that might happen again where we have this like one up every tournament where you just counter whatever happened at the last tournament and we're just going to get something new every time.
That's healthy. That's what it should be. Like that's ideal. So I hope you're right. But I'm just worried that it's going to be like Han and Kira.
Quinlan.
That's fair.
Fair enough.
Quinlan's
And Quinlan.
good.
I mean, Tarkin Town is another card that we could probably do another 20 minutes on.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
There were 117 Tarkin Towns in Denver.
How much
That's
of
a
that
lot.
was Jango?
78. So
And the rest were like Quinlan and whatever.
I want to hear from Stevie. You took
In what
Luke
regard?
to Denver, seeking the showcase. I have to assume you were trying to get that showcase. Like that must have been a goal.
Absolutely. Yeah. That was the only goal. Like if I'm being completely honest, I wasn't planning on going to Denver. It wasn't until I had serious FOMO after the Bothan Invitational.
We missed you guys.
So pretty much, yeah. I mean, it would all worked out great. It is what it is. But that Monday morning, put in for the day off. Somehow I got it. Booked the flight, and I was like, all right.
And
well,
Monday we were testing. We were testing on stream.
yeah, pretty much. But it was like, the real answer is I didn't think I had a shot at winning the tournament, making top 8, making a run. I just don't play enough, don't know enough. And I'm okay with that. I try to think I'm a very logical and realistic person. So I was like, could I top 64? That's probably pretty doable. And I thought I had a good game plan for Jango with Luke. I was like, yeah, let's go for it. And sure enough, one thing led to another and find myself top 8ing with it. But yeah, like I really didn't think I had a shot at winning, but I did think I had a decent shot, or at least some shot at getting the showcase. And I think arguably the showcase is probably worth a lot more than the first place
Yeah,
prize
that's
was.
right.
So you no gamble, no future, baby.
Love that.
You did it.
Yeah.
Shout out, no gamble, no future.
I did commentary.
So it kind of just
I
worked.
did commentary for some of your matches. Two things that stood out for me is you put out a ton of shields with Luke and what is it? Covering the wing, whatever it is.
Covering the
Covering
wing.
the wing.
MVP.
So many shields. And then the other thing that really stood out to me was Fleet Lieutenant during your matches.
So, like I kind of alluded earlier, the deck was literally 3x of 20 different cards. And I was set on playing with it. And I think, like I said, I think every single card was from set 1 or set 2. Oh, I played Sabine's Tie. Mostly because we're in the process of releasing a Sabine's Masterpiece themed box. And I was like, well, I got to play it. And at somewhere during last week, was it last week? Yeah, I guess. Wow, Jesus. Somewhere during last week, Mike was like, "You need to play Covering the Wing," and I was like, "I don't know, this card just seems pretty janky." But he was adamant about it. So sure enough, Saturday morning of the tournament, I'm like, "All right, well, I got to fit 3 cards in here." So I just took one. I took one off of all the removal cards, and sure enough, Covering Wing was a pretty sweet card.
Yeah, it's just been such good anti-Jango tech in my testing with Anakin. That I just saw how, like, it's pure overpoweredness, and it's one of my favorite cards in the new set, and definitely an unsung hero. And I'm glad Steve trusted me.
Yeah, Yeah.
Yeah, it's super versatile. I love that card.
Back when we used to play SWCCG, like you had a strict 60 card deck limit, and almost every morning before the tournament, whether we were together or we were across the country, I would always ask Mike, what's my 60th card? Like I'd build a 59 card deck and he would always give me that one last card. So when he said to play 3 Carve of the Rings, like I didn't question it. Like I thought for sure he was wrong and this card was janky, but like sure I did it because that's what you do.
Internally for us, Chris Schutz was the first to like share with the group, hey, this card's really good actually. And when he first shared it, I was like, what card is this? I think I missed it in the spoilers. This is a common. What does it do? But like the compression of deploying a 2/2 to space and putting a shield, like you can pay 1 to put a shield on. Like we already had that. But now you can create a 2/2 in space and put a shield in. It's really good. I'm not surprised.
And there are actually plenty of times when like in testing, I've just fired it off because I mulligan and have no 2-drop. But that actually just gives me a 2/2 2-drop, which isn't nothing.
We saw your deck, Stevie. The reaction internally at Bothan Network was generally, this is just a pile of good stuff. What is this? And then the follow-up reaction was, what is this sideboard?
Oh, the sideboard was top notch, baby. The sideboard was 10 cards that I had in my deck box when the morning of the tournament, and I was like, oh, this will work, throw these in. I think in total I probably sideboarded like 12 cards all tournament long.
Oh my god.
And it was just multiple instances of 2 cards. I sideboarded in tech a few games and I sideboarded in choose sides a few games. I never once sideboarded Satine, and I never once sideboarded whatever that 2/3
scanning officer.
Who cares? Who cares?
Scanning officer.
Whatever.
Yeah. There was so
she would have been good
so
versus
many games. Yeah, but I didn't play it. I got lucky in that regard. There were so many games where I just wouldn't sideboard at all, and I'd shuffle up my deck and present it while my opponent's still sideboarding, and they're just looking at me like, what the heck is going on?
I love this.
But then the opponent feels rushed, like they have to speed up their sideboarding. Then they probably don't shuffle as long as they usually shuffle, but it was just like present, like sit here, wait. Like at one point, I think on one of the stream games, I was like, I should probably just like, I think it was my first stream game. I was like, I should probably just like look through the sideboard just so everyone out there watching doesn't think I'm a complete numpty. But sure enough, after that, I was just like, you know what? F it.
Or do the old magic move where you shuffle them all in and then pull 10 out, but you just pull the same 10. Like you just put them in the back.
Bro, do you know how hard it was? Do you know how hard it was to shuffle
60
double sleeve cards? My hands are still sore. Like they were legit cramping through the tournament. If you thought I was gonna shuffle 70, you're brain dead.
Right, well, and if I may,
you're lucky that Star Wars doesn't have any shuffle effects, so you didn't have to keep shuffling it during games.
Oh my god!
We did on our KTOD YouTube channel post a video of me and Steve going through his his games and his deck choices and stuff. If people want to check that out for a little more content.
Yeah, we'll have the link down below.
Cool. Yeah. Thank you.
Sweet. Yeah, I mean it was a great weekend. Like I said, I think the moral of the story is really like anybody can top 8. You just got to show up. You got to have some confidence in what you're doing. And it worked out well. You know, it was a great weekend. I definitely couldn't have done what I did without the support that I had from everyone. I mean, I think the KTOD team, outside of just the 4 of us, the rest of the tournament testing team, like they were so supportive all weekend. I mean, if you guys don't mind, I just want to shout out a few people because
go for it.
Like it's been a while. Like Chris Schoenthal, OG, like from back in the Star Wars CCG days, it was great to spend the weekend with you. Alessio, my dude, you're a real one. Reflex, it was good to see you, my boy. M, I think you saved somebody's life with those sandwiches you brought. In general, the whole Patreon community was fantastic. Like, I am a super antisocial person and definitely had some anxiety about it all going into the weekend, but like people come up to me, everyone was so welcoming, so warming, and even like the times where you could tell I didn't want to talk to anybody, people like backed off, and you really can't. It was amazing all around.
Stevie, you were the people's champion on the streams and in the stream chats. Like for us, for the Bothans, George is our people's champion. He's our people's champion. this at Denver, you were the people's champion. Everybody was really excited for you, cheering for you in streams, cheering for you in the comment section. Like, let's go, Luke. Come on, Stevie. Everyone was excited.
And that's such a foreign concept to me because I'm always usually like the hated one. So it was wild.
Oh my God. When I walked by Steve, the judge was like, do people think he's really aggressive? I was like, oh no, what did Steve do on camera? Like, I could only imagine what happened.
I was so mild. I was so mild
you were great
in that situation. But yeah, it's very a foreign concept to me to be that, like you said, the people's champion, and it just like it felt amazing. It really, like, the whole community's, I can't speak highly enough of. So thank you to everybody.
Yeah, we have a great community.
But yeah,
it was so dope watching you just do that run. I think I saw that you were like AXN 1 in day 1 at some point, and I was like, bro, it's like round 7. Did he have this showcase like locked up already? Like, what was that point at where you were just like, yo, this showcase is mine?
That point was after round 10. I won round 10. Wu walks up to me and goes, I just beat the other Luke.
Oh, God. I didn't even realize there was another Luke in day 2.
Yeah, there was. We found out that night.
Drama about it. Because like when I made day 2, so my last round of day 1, I completely punted the match. I should have won, completely didn't see the line, just punted it. So I was super down. But everyone came up to me and was like, dude, it's all good. Like, you locked up the showcase, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, this is great. Like, I even went up to the head tournament organizer just to like, hey, like, do you guys have the showcases here? I just want to check in, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, yeah, we have them, but you got to wait until the top 36 or whatever. I was like, yeah, no problem. I can do that. And then somewhere afterwards, when we were getting dinner or walking home, someone's like posted all the things and there was 2 Lukes in there. And I was like, what? So it was like a super, super letdown. So then literally that entire night, I didn't sleep. I stayed up all night thinking about how bad I punted the last round. Alex woke up at like 2 o'clock in the morning to go to the bathroom, and I let him like walk by me without saying anything, and then I scared the living whatever out of him. It's really hard. It's really hard not swearing on here.
Kids are listening.
You're doing a great job.
Yeah, you're doing great.
So like I was super down about that, and then sure enough, like I didn't know who the other Luke was, this and that, and so then we got to the next day, and I played first round, and as we were wrapping up, picking up our cards after round 10, Ophir Wu comes up to me and is like, bro, I just beat the other Luke. And then like from then on, it was just like a huge sigh of relief. Like it was like, let's go, all amped up. And I definitely don't think, because round 11, I lost game 1 pretty miserably. Like I had a Battlefield Marine double fleet lieutenant hand against Jango. And I was like, oh, this is sweet. I'll just race him because I have 33 life. But he was the indirect damage version of Jango, and somehow, like, it wasn't even close. He completely smoked me. But I came back to win game 2 and game 3, and I definitely don't think I could have done that if I still had that pressure on me about worrying about trying to win the showcase.
No more Jango.
That's
worry
awesome.
about that
That's
again.
such a great story.
Yeah. And then, of course, at the end, they don't even have the showcase.
Yeah, they don't have it. There was a number of things they didn't have, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I don't know how much we're going to get into it because I know that there's a lot of changes planned from FFG because they know not necessarily that these sectors went the way that they wanted to, but we talked a lot internally at the Bothans Network. We had like a really long chat with Ron from FFG. So shout out Ron, part of the organized play group at FFG. Saturday night after day 1, when we're just like sad sitting in the hotel room when none of us made day 2, and then just like reflecting on like, do we even want to go back to the tournament on Sunday? Because it was just like the prize wall was like pretty expensive for everything. The side events felt like they were a little too expensive for what they were. A lot of them were single elimination, so if you lost the first round, you didn't get any tickets. I know you guys played in both days, but like from, maybe just like the KTOD, other people who were there who didn't make day 2, what were their experiences like? Or what was your guys, were you just so locked in that you didn't really notice everything else going around with the event? Or did you hear these rumblings about maybe that the event wasn't run as great as it could have been?
It was something we actually talked a lot about internally because going into day 2, Alex, like the brainchild that he was doing all the math, and it really didn't seem like there was any point for Ophir to play day 2 because his breakers were so bad that even if he went 2-0, he couldn't win anything. Like he couldn't top 8 because so at that point it's like he has to show up to play a tournament where he has no shot of even winning anything. I mean, the way it worked out was phenomenal that the buys passed down and he was able to scoop up a buy that way. But there were so many people going into day 2 that had to play and they had no shot of winning anything or making top 8.
Yeah, and about the prizes for the side events of the prize wall too, though. Like we were all talking, we have a big thread in the KTOD Discord talking about it, and I was just like, hey, so somebody needs to like put this out on Facebook so like we can all comment on it. And so there was a Facebook post going, and I made sure I said something. And then when I walked in on Sunday, I walked right up to Brad Nelson, and I was just like, have you ever seen anything like this, man? And I just laid out for him all the things. I was like, I know you have a direct line to Brad Nelson's the guy who owns Melee.gg.
Yeah.
Right. And I was just like, you like knowing that he has a direct line, I was like, can you please impart that like the changing of the rounds, the prize wall, like I made day 2, I can't even get a mat. You know what I mean? Like luckily they did listen, and I know it's probably a lot of like you guys talking to Ron and like, hopefully they saw the Facebook post and everything, but they did give me
I think it was a lot of everything.
1,000
there
points.
was a lot of feedback.
Yeah, 1,000 points for day 2. Steve got 3,000 points, another 2,000 for top 8, the 1,000 for day 2. And they did lower they cut all the prices in half on the prize wall. So like, I know you guys, didn't come on Sunday, and I was curious, like, did you guys feel bad about not coming considering they did make all those changes? I know you guys had a great day, but like, you definitely could have just done the main side event and like won 2 mats, like very easily.
Yeah. So we found out about that like relatively early on in the morning, but a lot of us slept in and then we're just kind of like, it's fine. For us, a lot of it was like the prize, like the mats were cool and stuff, but there was other events for us to go and try to win those at when like things are more fleshed out. And I think people wanted to just kind of hang out and not play SWU. They're a little bit tired of the meta and everything too. So I think it was like a kind of a culmination of a lot of things. But to me, it's just kind of crazy that there wasn't like a PQ that people could play in day 2.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, there are just so many
call.
things, Ian, that like if they just talked to some of us who did the grind thing for Magic, that like we could give them just such little and simple and not expensive, but just very easy changes to enact. Like putting competitor on the mat instead of participant, having like making sure there's a PQ on the Sunday event and not like just a 4-rounder. Like all of those things really add up, and are why the Magic scene was so successful for so long.
Yeah, it makes you keep coming back to it, right? Like that was the thing. Like I think a lot of us, even with the changes that they made on Sunday, like we left thinking like, do we want to go to Richmond? Like is that something I want to travel to? Like it's one thing if you live nearby, because then it's like you might as well go, right? But like people who are traveling across the country, like a lot of us were from the East Coast, like you guys, right? We had to fly to Denver. It's not something that we could drive to. So it's like a pretty expensive trip to make it happen. And it always sucks leaving like an event. And regardless of, maybe if we top 8 it or whatever, we'd feel better about it, obviously. You should never leave an event being like, I don't know if I want to go to the next one. Right?
Yeah.
You want to leave an event being like, when is the next one?
Yeah. And not only that, but if there's a PQ, it's a no-brainer. You're not even considering not going. You're automatically in.
Yeah.
Even if you don't want to, you're like, I have to.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And those are like such easy things that like it almost seems like how did they not think about that? Because I don't think I've ever been to a day 2 tournament for any card game where the second day didn't have a scrub out tournament that is like the whatever tier of tournament day 1 was, it's the tier below it, right? So like for example, Flesh and Blood, they have these, kind of Grand Prix like events called callings.
Yeah.
And then day 2 for people who don't make the callings, they have a battle hardened.
Right.
And at the Pro Tours, day 2 of the Pro Tour, for all the people who didn't make day 2 of the Pro Tour, there's a calling. Right. So it's just like whatever tier event you're at for day 1, day 2 should have that next tier below it happening that second day.
Can you imagine SWU battle hardens though? That would be so sick.
I agree. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean, like we gave a lot of feedback. You guys have given feedback. I think Reddit was going crazy. Like all of social media was going crazy about the events, and I'm sure it's similar in Europe in terms of feedback. So hopefully they understand what's going on, and there's some awesome changes in the future.
People talk about SWU
I
on
think-
Reddit. I don't think I've ever seen anything on Reddit about SWU.
Mostly about KTOD. But, yeah.
I won't go near that. Not
Yeah,
happening
something
ever.
about
Grocery
supermarket.
shopping. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's stories. Big yawns. Big yawns. I mean, so Ron did an interview, and he said he wants the feedback. Like, I have no hesitation about
he's
talking
got
on
it.
this podcast about like what we think they did wrong and what we think they can do better. If they hear that, great. He says he wants it.
Mike, why don't you send him an email?
I'm
I mean,
done.
I think these changes, right? The suspension changes are one of the best steps forward in terms of like changes that they haven't kind of done before, right? Like they've only done these changes historically at the end of a set, right? And now they're doing it where they feel like there's something wrong with the meta, they need to change it now, and they're proactively doing something. I love seeing that kind of stuff. So as much as I will give critique where it's deserved, I'll also praise it.
And like I said, I did commentary at Denver, and I saw several of Stevie's matches, and one thing that I noticed during your matches, Stevie, is your table etiquette with your opponents. You were like pointing out things that they missed, like maybe they didn't put a shield on a unit, or maybe they could have done an action. I remember I can't remember exactly what you did, but several times I saw you like point out to people something they could do and like help your opponent.
Mike told me I had to be on my best behavior, so he keeps that leash short.
Absolutely, as we should be.
Winning's doesn't mean that much to me. Like,
it's not going to mean much if you don't do it the right way, And I think that comes with maturity. I think when we were younger, we wouldn't have necessarily felt that way, but I think.
Oh, are you kidding me? I was a menace.
Yeah.
As a kid.
So as I've gotten older and very old and more mature, I've definitely been more on like we all have to do this, and we all have to be pointing out our triggers, calling judges on ourselves. Like I feel bad for our teammate Chrono. He I forget exactly what happened. I think he didn't pay for moving Poe in round 1, and he called the judge on himself and got a game loss and started the tournament 0-1. But like that's the kind of like ethical standpoint that it's really important to me that our team has, that we're not trying to like cut any corners or shoot any angles. And we're just trying to be on the up and up.
And it's the second
most
sector
of the time
where we've seen someone do that.
Right.
Were you guys...
I was just going to say most of the time, like when I make those mistakes, it's not because I'm trying to shoot an angle. It's just incompetence.
But we've all made mistakes. We all call judges on ourselves,
For sure.
Oh,
yeah.
Did you guys see the 8-cost Avenger at Denver?
I didn't.
Yeah, I don't know if Steve knows about this, so it might be good to let him know. In one of the rounds, Steve, the Kira player, only paid 8 for his Avenger, which is a 9-cost ship, Steve, if you weren't aware of that. And what the nefarious thing that happened was that, and the way they caught it was that the player had been fanning his resources and always tapped them. Because I played against him, and so I know, but he would use his arm to sort of like tap them all at the same time. And what he did when he played this Avenger play is that he put them all in a pile and turned them. Which for people who are new to tournaments, or if you see anyone using their resources in a pile, you should ask them to count them like every round or, every time they exhaust them, because it's really not good table etiquette to hide how many resources you have, or even just not even to hide them, but to make them in any way obscured from your opponent to create any sort of uncomfortability for anyone watching or playing against you.
Yeah, so he picked up the pile on camera, counted through it, and as you watch him, it's clearly 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. He piles them back up and sets them back down and just lets it continue. He definitely recounted it on camera.
Yeah,
and yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, he got caught. He got caught, and I'll let you finish the story, Jonathan. Sorry.
No, yeah, I mean, that's what I was going to say. They finished the match, didn't get called out on camera. It was afterwards. We reported it, and they went back and watched the footage and DQ'd this player.
So that I do have a problem with, because somebody pointed out this. I didn't mill 2 cards with Kanan when I had Sabine's tie out, and that turned into a whole thing. So how does nobody catch that?
I don't know. People are all over things. I had the same thing happen.
Like,
Like
WTF?
someone caught an opponent using Django against me twice, and we just both missed it. We were both thinking that the Django died that turn, but it was not. It was the round. Just sometimes in those high level matches, the rounds take a while.
Yeah.
And we just both brain farted in round 10 or 11 or whatever.
So what did the kid say when he got called out on it?
So he is a younger guy. I played against him earlier in the event. He's like, "How old do you think I am?" And I said, "Like in your 30s." And he was actually 19, which is kind of embarrassing. I felt bad, but allegedly, I don't know this for sure, but someone said that he just wasn't honest about it. But I can't say if that's true or not. But that's just what I was told. But either way, he did get DQ'd.
So one of the many Bothans was actually manning the Loopy late night gaming stream. I think it was his laptop that they were using to do the stream. His name's Hunter or Boba Stonks. Shout out to him. So he saw what the chat mentioned what was going on, and then he went to the judges, told the judges, they brought him over and did an investigation. And during the investigation, the judges asked, because they saw the footage where he like recounts the 8 resources, and they ask him like, "Hey, you recounted your resources. Why did you not like be like, oh, I can't cast this card or I can't play this card?" And he just didn't have a good answer. That's basically what happened. Is that he just did not have a good answer in the investigation of why the things happened the way they did, and it looked a little too sketchy.
Yeah, I think Hunter approached them during the match and said, "Hey, you just paid 8 for Avenger."
Yeah, I think it was like after he won that game with Avenger, and then I think it was like during the next game or during sideboard.
What's the line from Focus? You die with the lie. I mean,
God, yeah. Focus.
That's one way. Yeah, bro. Didn't you see that?
Is that
movie?
The Will Smith?
I guess it's like
Margot Robbie.
Yeah, Will Smith
it's been a while.
I don't know.
By the way, the sun's been going.
I'll rewatch any Margot Robbie movie. That's fine.
I can't swear, so I don't know what I want to say about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough.
Were you trying to say it's messed up? We're trying to say it's like messed up, or what?
Yeah,
it's messed up. I mean, I don't know. I think it takes a lot of. Can I say balls? Is that my?
Just said it.
I don't know.
Just said it.
Yeah, it takes a lot of balls, I think, to cheat on camera.
Yeah, he's on camera. What?
Crazy.
Yeah, like how do you expect? I mean, I think it's one thing to like. I don't know. We don't need. I don't want to go down.
Yeah, I just think right. I don't think we should go down the road. I think like it's tough to say, because we weren't there necessarily watching the exact moment, too much subjectively. I think that can be dangerous. But like if we're not playing ethically, like none of it matters. Like if those are the only ways you're winning, then like good job, pat yourself on the back. But like. You shouldn't have much to respect when you go home and look in the mirror. So let's just all try and play better and play honestly.
Right. Yeah.
Amen to that.
And that is the whole point of talking about these things, to just drive home what we're looking for in the competitive community and try and nurture that attitude. Don't do it on camera.
Well, don't. It's harder because like who knows how much this happens when it's not on camera,
Oh, that's the other thing I was gonna say is like don't dodge feature matches either, because like that's just like the alternative. Like I think I hate playing feature matches, because I am not a good player and it allows the whole world to see my mistakes. And somehow, what did I think? I had like 4 feature matches, but like the first one that came up, I was like, oh my god, I'm dreading.
Yeah.
But it also in my mind, it's like they asked me, do you want to play? No, I don't want to play in feature match. But like, I also subconsciously don't want to dodge that, because then like, even if I'm not doing anything suspect, like you still like, why did you
I never say no. I just say like, if my opponent's okay with it, I will.
Right.
Because I don't feel comfortable saying like, no, I'm not willing to be watched or scrutinized. And I think like when you do content, like we do, I think it's more important for us to not say no when we're doing things like putting ourselves on camera every day or whatever. We can't just like all of a sudden be like, no, I'm not going to do this on camera. It can be, I wouldn't feel comfortable with it.
I'm just glad they DQ'd this time and didn't hesitate. They found their evidence.
Yeah, they've been awfully lax.
Yeah, that was good.
I think Milan was a huge influence on that.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, I think that shows that FFG, I don't want to say learning from their mistakes, but like they're evolving week to week with the way they're handling things as well, which is all you can really ask for. Like everyone's gonna make mistakes, like it's inevitable. I make them all the time. But like if you're learning from them and changing how you're approaching things, like inevitably it's gonna be for the best.
Yeah, shout out to growth. And on a lighter note, on the topic of judge stuff, I have a fun little story that happened in round 2 of Denver. Very quick story.
Okay.
So I'm in the 0-1 bracket because I suck and I lost round 1. Okay. So I'm in the 0-1 bracket and I play up against this older gentleman who seems to be very new at the he's playing Sabine ECL, I'm playing Jango, I'm the big bad. It's all good. So he has initiative. We set up our resources, or at least I think we do. And we do our mulligans. He mulligans. We were ready to go, and he pings Sabine as the first action. I play a General Pride, and he claims. And I'm like, oh man, that sucks. No turn 1 play as Sabine. Wow, that sucks. And then we draw cards, and I look up, and he's got 8 cards in hand. And he just never resourced turn 1. So, obviously what happened here was that he was so disheartened that he didn't have a turn 1 play that he just forgot to resource because he's like, I can't play any of these cards. And I didn't catch it because he didn't play a turn 1 play, so I wasn't like, how did you pay for that, sir?
Right.
Because you just, you didn't play anything. You just pinged me. So I immediately call a judge because I'm like, I have no idea how to
what
fix
was the
this,
result?
because now he has extra cards. And technically,
you don't have to resource, right?
You do.
at the
You do have to
beginning
do
of
the
game.
first 2, yeah.
Yeah, just the first 2.
So
Really?
it's on both of us to maintain that game state. So it's partially my fault.
Yeah, you got
for not
a
catching this
point.
earlier. Yeah, so the fix was actually, I think, a really good fix by the judges. So shout out to them. They were great all weekend. But what they did was they put his cards face down. The judge randomly picked 2 cards, put them back on top of his deck, let him resource his initial 2 from the leftover 6, and then he draws the 2 cards as if he was drawing it for turn, and then he can choose to resource for the next turn. So I thought that was a really good fix.
Yeah, that's cool.
And it didn't feel like terrible for him. Like I thought they were gonna make me just like look at his hand and choose 2 cards to put down, which would be a pretty egregious fix.
Yeah,
I think.
That's
Ian,
tough.
You didn't ask what your options were. You didn't even.
Well, what I told the judge was, I'm playing against a Sabine opponent who missed their turn 1 play. He can choose whatever 3 resources he wants. I don't think it'll matter at this point.
Yeah.
And the judge was like, no, I need to maintain the integrity of the game. And I'm like, okay.
Whatever you say, bud.
So
Cool.
Sure, bro.
But that was a fun little judge moment and more lighthearted because afterward, me and my opponent were just laughing about it.
Yeah, that's a good story.
Well, that does it for us, guys. You guys have
All right.
anything you want to say? It's been great having you on the show. I was so excited when I reached out and invited you guys to come on, and you were both like, I don't know the right word, but enthusiastic about it. Like I didn't know when I was reaching out to ask. I was like, well, should I ask? I don't know. What are they gonna want to do this? I don't know.
I'm always happy to go on shows, but I too was shocked when Steve was enthusiastic about it.
Yeah. You were like, I want to make this happen. I was like, really? Okay.
I'm not gonna lie. I was planning on dodging this all week long. I just figured I'd blow it off to my schedule. But then somewhere along the line, yesterday, I was like, all right, this will be fun. Let's just do it. As you can see, I just walked out of a 3-piece suit. Like, it hasn't been the most convenient day for me, but no, I'm really glad you guys invited me on, and this is great because like I said, I usually hate doing all this kind of stuff, but you guys, fantastic hosts, and
yeah, I'm excited. I listen every week, and I miss going on podcasts. Like in the Destiny days, I felt like I was guesting on a podcast every week, and now I don't get any calls. So I felt like I was a lonely old spinster getting called up from a courtier again.
Oh, so fill up Mike's DMs. He wants all the podcast invites.
Well,
Do you have a
I'm
podcast?
definitely happy to go help anyone's channel grow if they think I can help them out. But I was especially excited to go on this show because I listen every week.
Yeah, we love it.
We appreciate that, man. That means a lot.
Yeah, it does.
Well, I mean, I watch the KTOD pod every time you guys post something.
Thanks, man.
So I always look forward to it, and you guys make great stuff, and it's awesome to see you guys' continued success at having awesome runs, and and doing really well at these events. Not just the two of you, but everybody on your team. Shout out to Wu for getting his invite. I know he's been working hard to get that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
Yes.
really awesome. Really appreciate you guys coming on, making the time.
Anytime, brother.
I'm sure we'll have one or both of you on again in the future.
Sounds good.
Well, I have
Sounds
like
like a plan.
really
Thanks,
high
bro.
expectations for Stevie now. Every tournament,
Oh, bro.
every
Dude.
tournament.
I saw him sweating when you brought up bringing him back earlier.
Oh my god! I mean, I wouldn't. Don't hold out hope, but no, it'll be fun.
Yeah.
I mean, I
You
enjoy
got
it.
this.
I enjoy
We'll just do it
going.
we'll do
figure
it by the
out.
pool in Vegas. That's all.
Yeah. Well, now
I mean,
Stevie
it'll be
has
a
to go
miracle
and
if I
not just
make
be
it
at the
too.
cabana because he got
I
a
know.
day one bye. But at least he could be on the cabana day one.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
That's
the
the thing.
plan.
I got one more day by the pool where I don't have to play cards. So I didn't even think about the buy until like afterwards. Someone mentioned it. I was like, oh snap! But yeah, now we just got to get the rest of the crew a buy. You guys need to step your game up. Come on now, you slackers.
I'm trying.
All right. Well, thanks for listening, everybody. Next week, it's a whole new meta. We're gonna dive into like what's going on, what have people been playing. I don't know what our guest is yet. We got a few people kind of lined up. Ian owns the schedule, so Ian, let's go. Let's get somebody.
I've been not doing a good job.
Yeah, let's go.
It ain't gonna be me.
Come
I
on,
know
come
that.
on. But thanks for listening. We'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Many Bothans died to bring us this information.